Good evening, I'm Harry Keeling, and on behalf of Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation and Alaska Public Media, welcome to Hangar Flying. Last time, if you tuned in, you would have seen Dr. Melchor Antunano. Dr. Antunano is the chief of the Civil Aerospace Medical Institute, and he shared with us some of his first impressions of Alaska. Also, Dr. Mel was the speaker at our Fall Safety Seminar on Saturday the 21st here in Anchorage. In recognition of the fact that many of you around the state obviously couldn't come to that seminar, we've taped a few sessions with Dr. Mel to talk about the topics that he covered in the seminar. So let's get started. Dr. Mel, welcome back.
Thank you.
So the first topic you talked about, and I'd like to have you say a few words about, is safety and survivability in general aviation.
Yes, and that's one of my favorite topics because obviously we have the safest mode of transportation in aviation compared to any other mode of public transportation. But we still have some issues that we need to address. So we are constantly trying to make changes to improve safety in the entire national airspace system. So in this particular presentation, I talk about certain areas that continue to be causes for incidents, causes for accidents, so that we can actually concentrate on preventive actions so that we don't continue having those kind of problems. And to give an example, which is applicable to Alaska, we continue to have incidents and accidents related to bad weather. And bad weather may have certain characteristics here in Alaska, but in different parts of the United States, they will have specific features, like for example in Oklahoma we have tornadoes. And also we have big size hail. So you can go from the size of a grape to a grapefruit size hail. So, but we need to recognize that based on the area where you operate, where you have to be prepared to deal with issues such as that. We have also issues related, for example, to the increased number of volcanic eruptions that will continue happening. There is a forecast for the next 30 years, how progressively we're having more and more volcanic eruptions. Well, we know that here in Alaska, there are many volcanoes that are active, and in fact, if you remember, we had the issue on New Zealand a couple of years ago there, where the explosion of one volcano essentially paralyzed air traffic between United States or America and Europe. So that there are new technologies, new developments that can help monitor what happens with volcanic ash. Well, that continues to be another safety issue. We have issues, for example, with bird strikes. Bird strikes, if you look at the statistics, for the last 15 years, including the current year, we keep having more and more impacts with birds. And there are several reasons for that. Number one, we are protecting more the environment, therefore we're protecting birds. There are more birds flying, we have more airplanes flying, so we can expect that there will be more mid-air collisions with birds. But one of the interesting results of that is that now with new materials that we use for aircraft, now the consequences of those impacts are not as severe as they used to be before. Now you have less damage because of composite materials or carbon fiber, but you still have the impacts. And in fact, if you want to make it very specific, well, we had the Hudson River accident. What brought that airplane down? It was birds. I also talk about issues such as airport operations, where we continue to have some incidents related to that. In the process of taxiing, we still have runway incursions. We have issues, for example, related to lasers. And I'm talking about your typical laser pointer, particularly those green lasers that we use for presentations and I use for presentations. We are having international problems with that, where people on the ground are pointing lasers at pilots in flight. And in fact, we have done some research at the Institute related to that, what are the consequences of exposing pilots to a laser in flight. Last year alone, we had more than 2,000 incidents only in the United States of people pointing lasers at airplanes in flight, and of course affecting pilots in the cockpit. We have had temporary flash blindness of pilots. We have had other visual impacts on the pilots that are not conducive to safety. Then we have also in the area, once again, of potential hazards that we have to deal with. Not just the weather as extreme as can happen here in Alaska, but we are having an increased number of incidents related to clear air turbulence. And obviously weather patterns around the world are changing. So now we're having turbulence that you cannot identify, you cannot predict, except now there are new developments. For example, there is a new laser technology that in a clear sky can anticipate whether or not you're going to hit turbulence. So we continue to have injuries of occupants of aircraft just because of unexpected turbulence. We have obviously other issues related to aspects such as cockpit automation. That cockpit automation obviously has improved the level of safety.
Let's save that because I'm running
For
out of
another-
time.
Okay.
I've got about 30 seconds left, but that's one of the topics. In fact, maybe if I can get you on another time, we'll go ahead and tape one, and we'll talk about human factors and safety issues in cockpit augmentation.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you for all of the things that you guys are doing and sharing it with our audience tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed tonight's program. Again, I'd ask you to tune in next time, and we'll talk about one of the other topics that Dr. Mel talked about, and that's cockpit automation. I think you'll find it very interesting. Until next time, fly safe.